Welcome to Fiery Discourse, your podcast and media featuring dragonesses, female dinosaurs, and other similar saurians and scalies. I'm your host, Ludmillanon, and with me are my co-hosts, Angron, Mathmachine, The Shark, Jordan, and Stryker. Today is our 88th episode, and we're discussing the 1999 Johnny Bravo episode, Loch Ness Johnny. So, let's get things started.
Hey, Prada Mama. Come again,
There's
my moose.
no better way to start than that way.
Do the monkey with me.
Classic. But yeah, Johnny Bravo was one of the first Cartoon Network original shows, as in something that was not acquired from something else or an old Hanna-Barbera rerun, and it really is a classic show. For those of you who haven't seen it, and I imagine that's very few people that listen to this podcast, it's basically about a Elvis wannabe guy trying to pick up women and failing, with other episodes being about wacky concepts as well.
Yeah, basically, I do not disagree with Autark of Flame, aka Alex Rohan, when he says it's literally about a guy trying to get laid, but what they do with it is honestly friggin' hilarious. And I've seen a few episodes before 2024, but during 2024, the episodes I have seen are honestly laugh out loud hilarious. It's a classic for a reason. Shark?
Yeah, it's constantly funny. It's one of the funniest shows in Cartoon Networks, and that thing about being an Elvis wannabe, well, it's more true than you think, because Johnny Bravo original design was actually pretty much Elvis, because he had black hair, he used a white suit, he had like the typical clothes Elvis used on shows.
I can imagine Jeff Bennett now singing fricking Rock Vegas, which, by the way, we're celebrating this on his birthday as of this recording.
Yeah, we are recording this on Johnny Bravo's birthday himself, the voice actor of Johnny Bravo, anyway, Jeff Bennett, and he's a legendary voice actor, and his work in this show, and this episode in particular, is really just so hilarious. Go ahead, Matt.
The reason I consider this a timeless show is because it does a very basic premise to our dumb lizard brains. Oh, hey, that idiot did something stupid. He gets what he deserves. That's
our big dumb he-who brains. It's basically Looney Tunes / Hanna-Barbera, except it's something Cartoon Network did instead of WB or freaking Hanna-Barbera.
Yep. Now, before we talk about the episode proper itself, we got to talk about the show, which has a very interesting production history, when that after the first season, the show's creator, Van Partible, was actually fired for reasons that I believe are still unknown. And the show was really retooled. It was originally done in a traditional animation, but it was switched to a more digital style. Reoccurring characters like Jungle Boy were dropped, and the writing team was pretty much completely gone and replaced with new writers and directors in that. And in this retooled version, which lasts, I think, from season 2 to season 3, basically what happened is we got more characters in the Johnny Bravo side of things, like Carl, who is Johnny's really nerdy friend, and Pops, the diner owner. And the most notable change was the change in Johnny himself. Johnny was in the first season kind of a normal guy, not necessarily the brightest, but definitely kind of a normal guy. In seasons 2 and 3, he was made into a complete idiot. And just to confess something, as a kid, I actually liked seasons 2 and 3 better than season 1, probably because Johnny's stupid funny was what my little kid brain thought then. Anyway, go ahead.
I do agree with that. Johnny being stupid gave more chance for jokes and all of that kind of stuff. Also, another major change that happened between 1 and 2 was actually Susie, the little neighbor. In the first season, she was like a sweet little kid that was friendly with Johnny, but Johnny obviously was not really interested. Season 2 and 3 changed her to a spoiled, annoying brat that will mess with Johnny every time she came across him.
Yeah.
For the most part. I mean, she was smarter than that, but I do wholeheartedly agree that the changes from season 1, season 2 onward definitely helped Johnny's character and helped the show for the most part in the long run.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
definitely, 100%. But like I said, this episode in particular, when we're going to talk about today, Loch Ness Johnny, it's one from season 2, and it is a really funny one. This is probably one of the funnier episodes, which is a really hard thing to qualify, because when this show was hilarious, it was hilarious.
Yes.
And the episode starts off with the title card, which in seasons 2 and 3 were these very stylized title cards that are really neat. This one shows Johnny face to face with Nessie, and it turns various different colors, and it always is something that was a cool little intro in that.
Yeah, it's also around the era where Cartoon Network was referencing stuff from the 60s and 70s and whatnot, and to an extent the 50s. And WB was banking on that because stuff like Batman the Animated Series, freaking Hanna-Barbera, modern age Hanna-Barbera stuff, and again, Cartoon Network at the time that was big money for them at the time, and it honestly holds up very well in many regards, I feel.
Yeah, like you said, during season 2 and 3, certainly they're trying to make more references of the time or previous times, but they were pretty mild and they didn't really interfere with the story, but it really got out of hand in Johnny Bravo season 4, but we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah, yep. I mean, a few examples aside, yeah, it definitely kind of got a little crazy at that point. Out of hand,
yeah, it definitely did. But the episode proper begins with Johnny's mom talking about how their Scottish heritage is, which leads right away to an absolutely hilarious joke with Johnny saying, "But Mama, I thought you said we were Polish." Oh, that was just to get into Blintz night.
What is Blintz, by the way?
It's like a Eastern European pastry.
Ooh, that's interesting.
By the way, Johnny's mom goes over to his great aunt and she tells Johnny to enjoy himself in town. Johnny approaches the haggis vendor and basically is wondering what he's making. The haggis vendor kind of reminded me a little bit of groundskeeper Willie from Simpsons in a way.
I can see
it. I think the mustache is what really reminded me of Willie.
Yeah. Also, during that scene, I also thought of Demo Man from Team Fortress 2.
Yes.
Oh God, I can see that as well, especially with the voice in it.
You don't have an excuse.
Nice.
They're going to bury what's left of you in a soup can. Fun fact, I have Scottish, Irish, and Irish heritage in my veins, as well as a little bit of Native American on my dad's side of the family. So,
awesome.
Yeah, take that, freaking 23andMe.
Awesome.
Same here, except for instead of Native American, it's Dutch for me.
Nice.
Awesome.
Also, interesting fact, the Scottish guy is played by Frank Welker.
Yeah, and he also voices another character that we'll get to in a little bit. But what happens is the vendor literally flings a sample in Johnny's face with him loving it. And there's a nice touch when he eats it. There's like little sexy angels around his head that are like, that again is a really funny touch. And what happens is
tartans, by the way.
Yeah, that too. They're just like Scots women, and that is so funny in a way. It's a detail that they didn't have to put in, but it's really cute that they did.
Yep.
Johnny asks what's in haggis, with the vendor just launching into a very angry rant over it. Johnny just cuts him off and asks for a pound of it. Go ahead.
It reminds me of that one episode of Samurai Jack where Jack visits the Scotsman's home and he asks what haggis is, and he's like, "This is haggis?" And they're like, I forget specifically what they say, but it was a common freaking gag in that freaking show, and it made me laugh every time I heard it.
Yeah, I definitely can see why. And if only the Scotsman was here. Go ahead, Shark.
Yeah, maybe Johnny Bravo himself could have told Jack, because there was this famous commercial where he meets him at a laundry.
Oh yeah, oh man, I remember the memes around that, like Samurai Jack and Johnny Bravo in like a cyberpunk-esque setting where like Samurai Jack doesn't have his sword and Johnny Bravo is bald and he has a freaking mechanical arm. It kind of reminds me of freaking Greg from Steven Universe a little bit.
I can see it. And Greg. That also was a commercial that got an insane amount of fan art. If you know, you know.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty bizarre.
But, after receiving his haggis, Johnny decides to eat it by the pretty lake. The vendor is actually horrified at this, to have Johnny ask, "Is it all right?" And the vendor innocently says no. As Johnny leaves, the vendor adds, "If you survive." When Johnny gets by the lake, the smell of the haggis starts to attract Nessie. And it's here we get another really hilarious joke with Johnny not knowing how to eat it and just says, "I guess I'll start by just gnawing on the sack." It's so hilarious.
Yeah. Oh, man.
But of course, After this, we get to see Nessie herself rise from the depths, and her design here is really adorable in that it kind of resembles something you would see in a traditional Hanna-Barbera cartoon, while still having its own flair. And the fact that she has long eyelashes is a really cute touch. And as we mentioned previously, Nessie, of course, is quote-unquote voiced by the great Frank Welker, who previously voiced the haggis vendor and has done pretty much dozens and dozens of animal effects. He's probably appeared on this podcast at least 10 times already, and he's a legend for a reason.
Also,
As you know,
that reminds me. The design absolutely reminded me of American Dragon Jake Long, the first season, not the second one. I will die on the hill that the first season was way better than the second season design-wise.
Same.
Yeah, but yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah, I also agree with you that it also has that Hanna-Barbera touch as well as looking a little bit like Jake Long.
Yeah, I can see that. I can kind of see that, especially with the mouth. You know, like the sharp-lined mouth. It definitely is reminiscent of that. Which, very, very interesting here. And what happens is Nessie takes the bag from Johnny as he instantly gets upset and just tackles her for it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Never stand between a man and the thing that he recently wants to enjoy.
But Nessie then uses her tail to smack him into a mountain as he gets buried by a pile of rocks. And it's here we get the funniest joke of the episode because for me, after Johnny is buried in it, we just hear his reaction, which is a quiet, understated, ow. It's one of the funniest jokes. It reminds me of like in a SpongeBob, whenever Plankton would, be thrown to the chum bucket for the first 3 seasons, he always would answer with an ouch. That is so hilarious, and it reminds me a lot of this.
After Squidward got hit in the face with an exploding pie that destroyed Bikini Bottom.
That too.
That
too. Like, underreaction.
It also reminds me of just every time that sort of freaking joke happens where Johnny just gets hit and all he can do is like say, ow. Like it doesn't even bother him. It's just honestly hilarious.
Like he says it because he has to say it, not because it actually hurt him.
Exactly.
There's another joke like that in this episode, but we'll get to it when we get to it.
Yeah, there's another joke that comes after this that I'll absolutely love, but we're getting to that.
Yep. But of course, Nessie takes Johnny's haggis back into the lake as he vows to get it back. He runs up to a newscaster on a dock talking about a bathysphere going to find Nessie. He kicks the newscaster out of the way, claiming it's a national emergency. So obviously he stole it from James Cameron.
That right there is honestly the funniest joke to me personally, because like it's just this guy. Behold this greatest submarine that will be tested to explore the entire Loch Ness. And Johnny just like, out of the way, but I'm getting my haggis back. Johnny is absolutely freaking Chad in this episode, and
would you
that right
kindly?
There is why. Out of the way, national emergency.
Matt, you were saying?
I'm just glad that they were trying to explore Loch Ness rather than look for the Titanic.
Oh God!
Oh my
you
God!
had to make that joke. You had to make that joke. Wow!
Johnny would totally detonate that one by mistake.
Oh, too soon, man. Too soon.
I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
But anyway, another funny moment of it. We get to hear Johnny's goofy laugh as the bathysphere submerges. He goes, oh, submergy. Again, Jeff Bennett's performance as Johnny Bravo is just so amazing no matter what season it was, He always gave it 110%, and it really shows here.
Yep.
Yeah, it definitely does. Like anytime he leans into the whole Elvis impersonator, oh God. Just reminded me of that one freaking joke from VeggieTales where it's like Jimmy Gord as Legolas, and it's freaking Larry the Cucumber as an elf dressed up as Elvis, and it's like, oh gosh, like you're not an elf, you're an Elvis impersonator.
Yeah. Classic.
Oh, so good Lord, the good kind of cringe. That's the good kind of cringe. Oh man.
But what happens next, of course, is meanwhile under the water, Nessie is setting a table, complete with an octopus candelabra holder and a really great visual gag.
Gee, it's almost like she was setting up for a romantic date. Hint, hint.
Yeah, interesting.
Eyebrow raise.
2 plates after all.
Yep, and another really cute moment that's almost like blink and you miss it. Something that actually had to go back and pause. As the bathysphere arrives underwater, Nessie does kind of like a sassy pose, like "What's going on here?" kind of thing.
Yeah,
and again, it's one of those. It's one of those moments they didn't have to animate, but I'm glad they did because it really does give her character.
Yeah, it very much does. It gives her 100% character.
Yes, another little detail I do like is that since they're underwater, she actually changes color. She becomes more bluish than greenish.
Yeah.
It's probably because of the color they chose for the water.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but again, it's an animated show. They didn't really have to do that, but they did.
They did.
Actually, no. Actually, no. That's also because of the lighting. I just realized.
Yeah. Absolutely. Also, if she was in Subnautica, a lot more people would be playing that.
Actually, agreed.
Yeah. Actually, agree.
Classic. But what happens when it arrives is Johnny finds the haggis, but Nessie roars at him, which causes him to let out a really hilarious high-pitched scream.
That doesn't happen until when he gets on land.
Yeah, but I'm just saying his regular scream right now is still hilarious to me. Something that I always laugh at.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Johnny says that he has her outclassed in brain power. Then he does another ow as he pokes his head in a really funny moment. It does a goofy face.
Yeah. And then he does the ever iconic shuffling.
Yep, he does the shell game routine for her to find the haggis using the claws of the bathysphere. And in a really cute character moment, Nessie is actually interested in this. Of course, when Johnny tries this the first time, she easily finds it. He does this again, and the same outcome happens, causing Johnny to suggest best 17 out of 109 to 2.
Oh gosh, I hear that, it's good lordy. I saw that and all I could think was, buddy, you may have brains, but she's got a sniffer, and you, my friend, have been check and mated. Well, the latter part doesn't happen until later, but we'll get to that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. But what happens is Nessie roars at him. But what happens is there's a really cute moment. Johnny picks up the octopus candelabra and squirts inks at her, blinding her.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is something interesting about Johnny's character. He may be a dumbass, but when push comes to shove, he can be clever and think fast on how to get stuff done. Like here right now, he sees the octopus and he quickly grabs it and uses it to escape.
Yeah, he's less like Soren in that he's less like Soren in that he's a little bit more sociable, but he's more like Eddie in the sense when the chips are down, he will 100% get what he wants, and he will go through frickin' lengths to do it for the most part.
Oh, I definitely can see it. And apparently what happened is Johnny must have gotten the idea from Mario Kart DS on how to blind her because he used an octopus.
Yeah. Or Mario Kart in general.
Yeah, that too. But Johnny arrives on land as Nessie chases him, and now he lets out the really high-pitched scream that's even funnier than the last one.
It's even more so, yeah.
And that combined with the facial expression, it's really just a highlight of it. It really is so funny, you know?
Yeah, he's just basically just doing his basic resting hunk face, but he's just running and he's just
Exactly.
It's just hilarious. And also he's just doing his signature football run while he's just doing it. And he's not breaking stride whatsoever while he's doing it.
All. Exactly.
Oh,
yeah, but it really is hilarious. But and especially again with the animation in that. But Johnny, of course, runs by a group of bagpipers and disguises himself as one. At first, he plays really poorly, which exposes him. But then he stops and plays a beautiful song. He plays it well enough that Nessie starts openly weeping. And it's here where we get, for me, the real funniest joke of the episode. One that I actually had to pause and laugh for a couple of minutes. Johnny stops, he breaks the fourth wall, and he says, "All prehistoric reptiles are suckers for haunting renditions of Danabor." Just the way he says it with like a little smirk on his face, too. And how he breaks the fourth wall.
Yeah, oh man, he's no stranger to breaking the fourth wall, but here especially, it's like him doing that is just it's pretty hilarious, not gonna lie. But yeah, apparently he took seduction lessons from Scanlan Shorthalt. And also, he broke. It's a shame he broke character here because that would have absolutely worked if he didn't do that fourth wall. But hey, what do I know?
Yeah. But yeah, like I say, what happens is Nessie catches him because of this comment and she roars at him. He throws the bagpipes in her mouth and runs away screaming. We then cut to a group of Braveheart warriors preparing to fight before an alarm goes off, causing the William Wallace / Mel Gibson one to run and reapply his makeup.
They can take our lives, but they will never take our beep beep lunch break.
Exactly, that is such a good joke. And that's interesting is the William Wallace one is also voiced by Jeff Bennett. And number two, this is something that definitely shows its age. If this show was made just like 10 years later, Johnny would have beaten the hell out of Mel Gibson for pretty much everything.
Oh gosh.
Actually, yes, he would have.
Yes, it shows its age, but I don't care. It's funny.
Yeah. At least it's not as bad as The Simpsons, which did a whole episode about how Mel Gibson was too likable. It's like, well, he doesn't have that problem now.
Yeah, it's a real shame, too, since, like, I can name another Braveheart reference that's easily my favorite, and it comes from Rock of Ages 2, where, like, the fake pretender of Braveheart is like saying that they might take our lives, they can never take, but then the real one who's like even larger than him shows up and it's just like, out of the way.
Classic.
Yeah.
But yeah, what happens is, of course, Johnny picks up the actor's sword and prepares to use it on Nessie. But I love how she just swats it away with her tail in a really funny moment.
Here's the tail, baby.
Yep. He then says, "Well, maybe it could feed too," as he dives behind the rock. Johnny vows that Nessie will never get the haggis, as the Scottish actor tells him exactly what haggis is in excitement. And I love as soon as Johnny finds out, the second he finds out, he is absolutely disgusted. Yeah. You mean I was going to eat a sack of animal organs?
Yeah. Pretty tasty. Honestly, Johnny, you freaking ate that before and liked it. What is so different about this now? It's honestly like
all about hot dogs.
Like,
true.
Good lordy. It's like number two, and it's like number two's I Can't Believe It's Not Booger, where instead of freaking snot, he uses earwax for it. It's freaking weird.
Yeah, weird. Definitely, that was a weird show, too. But what happens is Johnny just throws the haggis inside of Nessie's mouth, after which she belches loudly. And then we get to the part of the episode that is really interesting, and again, kind of a shame it's an 11-minute short, 7-minute short, rather, because she then falls in love with Johnny as he has a very nervous reaction to her.
Oh, boy.
Yep.
Another one to his list of a certain type of chicks, let's say.
Yep, and we'll talk about that list in a little while, because it gets very interesting. Let's do it that way. But the episode ends with Johnny's mother leaving her great aunt's house, followed by the rest of the town basically running and screaming. And Johnny returns to his mother with Nessie on a leash as he says, "Remember when you said I could have a cat?" And a pretty funny ending. And Nessie has little like hearts around her like eyes and face as she stares at him. And that's a really good joke, you know, like I say.
Honestly, this moment right here pretty much exemplifies the fact that Johnny absolutely scores it big when it comes to beings of a more animalistic nature. Like, good lordy, this guy has gotten luckier on dates with an antelope, a freaking gorilla, technically, and a moose, more so than actual human people, and it is baffling that he is lucky in that regard, and yet it's just like, no way, mama, don't swing that way. Or at least when he does, he kind of goes south a little bit.
Yeah,
But here,
definitely,
thankfully,
definitely.
it doesn't.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Nessie never showed up in another episode, but Johnny Bravo was one of those shows that never really had that much continuity. It was one of those shows that did wacky stuff for the basically just did wacky stuff because it wanted to, and it really does work out, you know.
I
Yeah.
like to imagine that. After taking Nessie home, he's like just chilling out with the family cow, who's also a pretty great poker player, and they're just like chilling there, and Johnny's having a good time with him. Which
Yeah.
that honestly reminds me, because like I'm thinking of it, like now that I think of it, Johnny is pretty damn stacked. Like he's pretty stacked enough to own like a freaking leopard skin, tiger skin bed sheets, exercise equipment, and is somehow able to afford all this crappy shit. And yet, when it comes to dry cleaning, he kind of flubs up on that, which is like, huh? But whatever. It's pretty hilarious.
Hmm.
Oh man.
No,
Anyways,
definitely. But yeah, like I say, this episode was from season 2 rather, of Johnny Bravo. And again, season 3 was really more of the same and had a lot of really funny episodes in that. But what happened is, excuse me, for season 4 of Johnny Bravo, that's where things get interesting because Van Partible came back. He came back to the show, and apparently he had some stipulations. Number one was that he would have apparently his writing team back. Number two is that he would be able to create the episodes, which he did. But what happened, unfortunately, is season 4 has some funny episodes. It has the episode infamously where Johnny marries a moose. It has the one with Mr. T, which is a laugh riot. It has the one with Weird Al Yankovic and Don Knotts trying to basically
and Blue Falcon.
do his
and
image.
Blue Falcon
Blue
ruining
Falcon,
his life.
my apologies.
They
Yeah.
100% ruined his life.
Yeah, yeah. They try basically to make him a more appealing cartoon character, and it becomes such a ridiculous parody that it gets funny. But what? Go ahead, Shark. Sorry.
Yeah, you can kind of tell he wasn't a fan of the changes between 2 and 3 because a lot of things returned to season 1 standards per se. Susie had her original design back, and more notably of all, Carlos and Pop were cut out of season 4.
Yeah, that they barely even appear in the fourth season, and it's kind of a shame because they were funny characters. I mean, I get why he wouldn't like them because they were made after his tenure on the show, but they actually were really funny characters. It's kind of a shame when you think about it.
Yeah, it's a real shame, but thankfully the comedy didn't falter for the most part, because even with the guest stars and whatnot, like Adam West, freaking Shaquille O'Neal and all that, it still went out on a pretty hilarious note, I feel. Not a perfect note, but still a funny one. Which leads us to our question of the episode, which is...
Wait, before we start the episode, I just want to say one thing. Sorry about that. I just want to say something that was interesting about Johnny Bravo, then we'll get to the question.
Okay.
What happened is, after season 4 of Johnny Bravo ended, which was not well received as the others, the character kind of just disappeared for a while. There was talk of there being a movie starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as Johnny. This would have been around the time he did like Walking Tall and Scorpion King, so he wasn't the most overexposed thing on the planet yet, so would have been interesting. But here's where it gets really interesting. Johnny Bravo always was a popular show, basically anywhere it aired, but it was insanely popular in India. It was huge over there. Apparently, like how Powerpuff Girls and Ed, Ed and Eddie were received elsewhere, Johnny Bravo was the flagship show in India. So it was so popular that Johnny Bravo got basically a finale movie in 2011 called Johnny Goes to Bollywood, which is about Johnny basically being a washed-up celebrity. He goes to India to try and be a star again and finds like his doppelganger, and it's a Prince and Pauper thing.
Dang.
They actually got Jeff Bennett and the voice actress who played Johnny's mother to reprise their roles, and I believe Van Partible actually did work on it in some capacity. I believe he did some writing for it, although I'm not really sure, but it's
That's
just
nice.
fascinating to think how huge this show was, that it got a special that apparently was only meant for India. The fact it aired outside of it is really surprising, but it is interesting, especially to see Johnny Bravo, a 90s character, interact with stuff like, for example, he watches a TV show and there's a parody of a Twilight vampire, or when he's flying over to India, he watches a movie that's a parody of Avatar, then he watches the Bollywood version with the Bollywood version of Johnny. It's really weird to see such a 90s character make it to like 2010s cultural references, you know?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty
I get it.
bizarre.
I get it.
Yeah, it's pretty bizarre, but it honestly works surprisingly. I haven't seen it yet, but that premise alone makes it sound more credible than it actually is.
I'll just say one more thing about it. Johnny has a monkey butler.
Yeah,
Yeah, he does, and that's special. I have no idea why, but it is relevant. It's not just one of those throwaway jokes.
Yep,
They do
yep.
call back to it in a hilarious way, and I don't want to spoil it, but it really is funny. Anyway, Shark, go ahead.
Yeah, the whole thing of a cartoon character being so popular in another country that country makes them a movie, it's quite common actually. Like Top Cat is really popular in Mexico, and a Mexican animation studio made a movie about him there. And also Woody Woodpecker, who had his live action movie in Brazil, because Brazil is crazy for the woodpecker.
Yeah, exactly. It's always fascinating when stuff like
Pretty
that
bizarre.
happens.
Also, it doesn't help that in Brazil, drags are pretty popular, which led to super drags. I'll let that
Interesting.
sink in. While we
Okay.
also talk about our question of the week, which is, what is your favorite Johnny Bravo episode? Lud, on you.
I'll start. Yep. Now I have now this one's interesting because I have a lot of ones that really made me laugh hard as a kid. The one with the biosphere was hilarious. I'm just watching my favorite show, macaroni and cheese, going around and round and round and round and round and round and Eddie. That always made me laugh so hard as a kid. But for my all-time favorite episode, at least the one when I was a kid, I'm not sure what my favorite episode would be now. I probably would have to rewatch the entire series and rank it that way. But I do know which one was my favorite as a kid. It was one that was about the water balloons. I have no idea why. That episode would make me laugh so hard as a kid, and I actually rewatched it, and it didn't make me laugh as hard as it did when I was little, but it is still such a funny one. Is that Susie is basically having water balloons thrown at her by a neighborhood boy, and Johnny enlists basically Susie, some random kid, and Carl basically to strike back at this kid and his water balloon carrying minions, and it is just so funny with like the slapstick in that. And with Johnny's reactions and everything, and I believe it's called like a Balloon Platoon is the episode, and it is a hilarious one. It's one that whenever it aired on TV, I knew that it was going to be good. And it's funny, it's one of those things, you don't know why you liked it so much, that episode in particular, why that one, I have like probably the hundreds of ones I watched, that one was the one that stuck out in my brain, but it really, really just made me laugh so hard as a kid, and I don't know why. Maybe it was the music. Maybe it was like the slapstick. Maybe it was the presence of Carl, who always is such a funny character. And fun fact, is voiced by Tom Kenny in another really great performance.
Nice.
He's kind of doing not necessarily like a SpongeBob per se, but like kind of a different type of nerdy character. And I think the best way I could describe it, imagine if SpongeBob also was Kevin the Sea Cucumber. That probably is the best way to describe Carl's voice. And he is another character that always made me laugh, yo.
Nice.
And what's interesting over here is the dub of Johnny Bravo. It gave him more of a normal, less Elvis voice, but it was still really funny. That's the thing that's interesting, even though it wasn't like, doing an Elvis impression, because doing an Elvis impression in Spanish would be very hard. It still was really funny. And like I say, Johnny Bravo definitely is a great show in particular, but Balloon Platoon is definitely my top episode. So, Angron, what would you say?
That's going to be a tough one, because excluding Loch Ness Johnny, which is definitely going to be hard mode challenge for all of you who want to add that. There are a few episodes that definitely capture my fancy. But I think my favorite ones are the ones where Johnny scores again with the animal people, and if Date with an Antelope kind of leans in, and honestly, the insanity of those episodes are kind of hilarious, especially the first episode where it's Jungle Boy. Nah. But yeah. Anyways, if not Date with an Antelope, which is my second favorite episode, and the one where Johnny kind of has a little rough, but hey, it has a nice character in it, so I'll give it a pass. I'll give it an A+ even. It's absolutely going to be Wilderness Protection Program. Like Date with an Antelope leaned into it, but if freaking that did that, then Wilderness Protection Program went all in on freaking the furry stuff. Like it's up close, mostly in your face, and it's honestly hilarious because like it's here where Johnny gets the closest to experiencing a married life. And while it's not perfect, he and Becky, the moose character that's represented in this, have a pretty nice dynamic. They're both somewhat dim-witted, and yet they both get along pretty well in most cases. And while Johnny isn't exactly the most faithful person, I mean, with a character like Becky in his life, it definitely would have made him a little better in that regard. Like, he does do the stuff that Becky asks of him, and it honestly shows that Becky is a pretty good counter to Johnny, not gonna lie. So yeah, even if he doesn't really have it best with other human females, and just good lordy, the other furry episodes I could talk about involving Johnny are just huge examples of why this guy definitely is in the wrong hunting grounds.
Yeah, it's just
This definitely right here is one of the peak ones because it goes from him just signing up for a freaking wife and being disguised as an elephant from a cow lady. That's certainly a premise. It just spirals into insanity from there being a freaking bull/deer mafia to her working at a speakeasy with a one-piece suit. Just this leans in hard and definitely shows Seth MacFarlane's furry boner way too early, and yet I love it. It is one of those episodes that I will absolutely revisit if I ever get the chance to, and the ending's a little bizarre, but it does end on a very nice note, I feel. Oh, Math, god dang it. So for those of you who are watching, Math posted comments, one of them being like, I'm sure at least half the answers can be summed up as, which furry episode was your favorite? And him being like, I can't really like this episode, can't explain why. And it just shows freaking Johnny looking at Becky as she's trying to enter the house, and her hips are too wide for the door. It's just like, yeah, I think you can tell why I like this episode.
Classic.
Understandable.
Yeah, she is definitely the best freaking fit for Johnny in this episode. Next.
100%. But yeah, it's something I wanted to mention before the next person speaks. Seth was not working for Johnny Bravo by season 4, but still, I definitely could see the resemblance.
Yeah, that's a shame, but still, he definitely left an impact, and that is one of them.
So yeah, let's see who's next. Math, what would your favorite episode be?
I really like the Johnny Bravo episodes where he was out crazied or out stupided. And I don't think that there was any episode that better exemplified that than Johnny meets Adam West.
Oh God, this moment.
Yeah. It's really weird. Johnny thinks that his mama has disappeared, so he goes to Adam West, the man on TV who helps people find relatives or deal with issues and stuff like that. It's such an odd beginning premise, and then it just spirals into insanity from there. This is the time period where Adam West leaned into that stereotype that he had, that he was the crazy guy from TV, and he just completely owns it, and it is hilarious. I swear there was no actual script to this episode. It was just Adam West trying to think of the craziest things that he could think of, and that they would let him say.
I think that episode that you're talking about was give me a second here.
It was from season 1.
Adam West's Datorama. Wait, there was a season 1 episode where Adam West was in it? Oh no,
yeah,
no.
It was actually written by believe it or not, that was where his work with both Seth MacFarlane and Butch Hartman would first start because they wrote that episode. And Adam West famously was Mayor Adam West in Family Guy, and he also was himself / Catman in Fairly Odd Parents. So both of them liked working with him so much he became regulars on their shows as well.
But you were talking about the season 4 episode, right, Math?
No, season 1. Johnny Bravo meets Adam West.
Oh, I have not seen that. I need to check that out. Wow.
It's a really funny one.
How it spirals into pure insanity, and Johnny looks like the smart guy in this episode.
Oh, gosh. I definitely need to check that out. Oh, my gosh.
When your usual Donbass is the sane man in the room, you know you're in for a ride.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. And again, like you said, basically, Adam West, it really, really shows what a talented guy he was, and he was willing to make fun of himself like this, and pretty consistently for the better part of 20 years, really for the rest of his life when you get down to it. After he played Batman, famously, he couldn't really get that much work, so he just leaned into it eventually, and it revived his career.
Also, I love his role as I love this one joke he did in Family Guy where it's like fighting the Noid and he just cracks his neck like, perhaps the Noid should beware me.
I also love just get on the Adam West thing for a second, and then we'll switch over to the next person. I love the one episode in a Family Guy where it's like a behind the scenes thing of the making of the show, and then it just cuts to Adam West walking along the scene with the rope, and he goes, "Bet you didn't know. That's how we did that." And in Batman, and he just continues to go. The famous wall climbing scenes in Batman.
Yeah, classic, I also love the joke. I also love the morbid joke he did in at the freaking funeral moment, where I was like, "You never came to my funeral." He just walks away, and he's just a ghost, and he just fades away. That's morbid yet hilarious at the same time.
Classic. Yeah,
I still love that. Like, you know how they have like Stan Lee as the cameo for as the character you need to find in the Lego Marvel video games.
Oh,
it's Adam West in Lego Batman 3.
That is awesome.
That is cool. Wow. Also the cat crossbow.
Yeah, that too. But yeah, enough about Adam West, even though he was an awesome thing. But that is a great pick. I definitely could see why you would pick that one because, like I say, of the season 1 episodes, that definitely was one of the all-time funniest ones. Let's see, Stryker, what would your favorite one be?
Scooby-Doo crossover.
Yes!
Oh, yes.
I always find it, like, timeless, in my opinion. And, like, it's just that adorable crush that Velma has on Johnny.
Yes,
it's so cute.
Oh god, they actually built on that in the Cartoon Network spoof where it's like Johnny dating Velma, and she just cannot stop being crazy for him.
Yeah, all right, those commercials.
Yes.
And plus, like, they truly leaned into the stereotypes that people had made for had given each of the characters.
Oh, that's awesome.
From Scooby-Doo, of course. Like, how they made the joke that Fred and Daphne are absolutely doing it when they split off from the rest of the group.
Yeah, I love the joke where like Johnny and Velma bump into each other. My glasses! I can't see anything without my glasses.
My glasses! I can't be seen without my glasses.
Yeah,
exactly. And here's the thing too, is apparently Hanna-Barbera themselves absolutely thought it was hysterical. They actually really liked this parody of it, and of course
it absolutely is hysterical. They honestly should be laughing at that.
Yeah, and the episode ends with Johnny meeting basically a character from a copy of Scooby-Doo.
Oh yeah, the putt-putt thing.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, right. And actually, they actually called back to this episode in the Johnny Bravo Goes to Bollywood because, not to give any spoilers, but when the villain is revealed and is taken away, Johnny basically says, oh, don't people watch Scooby-Doo anymore? Then he leans right in the camera and he goes, hey there, Velma. So they actually call back to it.
Nice.
Yeah, no, that is a great one right there. Wow.
Great choice, Stryker. Great choice.
Great.
Thank you.
You're probably laughing your ass off off microphone right now.
I know I am.
I do sometimes, actually.
Okay.
I know I
Anyways,
am. It's
next.
so great. Yep. Let's see. Shark, what would your favorite episode be?
Oh boy.
Well, there's something not many people consider when thinking about Johnny Bravo's writing, and is that pretty much every single episode had a unique character that will be basically Johnny Bravo's interest of the episode. And they will have to make a different design, a different personality, and a different relationship with Johnny. And my favorite episode has basically my favorite of these one-shot characters, which is a wolf in a chick's clothing.
And in a no, it's actually a guy in a chick and in a wolf's clothing.
Yeah,
layered.
That episode has, like I said, my favorite Johnny girl, Fluffy.
She really is adorable. Her werewolf form looks really good.
If it wasn't Nessie or Becky,
by the title and other comments, she's a werewolf, and she has another adorable design, adorable personality. But it's not just her why I like the episode so much, because one, it's actually funny. Like, there's this joke where Johnny and her go to different places and people scream and go, but every time they go to a new place, they go like, oh, it's the werewolf from the restaurant. And then they go to the ice cream. It's the werewolf from the restaurant and the cinema. And on and so on.
It really is
hilarious.
It's really hilarious. And there's a twist at the end that it is funny, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, you did this just so Johnny couldn't get a girl, because Fluffy was one of those small amount of girls that actually liked Johnny enough.
Yes, and it's a shame that happened in that episode.
I think the ending was just like some random, we got to end the episode somehow. It felt like something that did feel kind of rushed, but regardless.
Like I mentioned the relationships between Johnny and the girl will be different per episode, and this is another factor I also like this episode. In this episode, we see Johnny when he's not trying to win the world automatically, like being a jerk or being like, oh, watch at me, because she's pretty nice to Fluffy when she's crying because everybody dumps her when but Johnny, like, it's looking not like a kind way to telling her, like, no, she consoles her every time everybody screams. He's like, hey, it's okay, we can go here, we can try this. So
yeah, he does the same.
Johnny we don't often see in this episode too.
Yeah, he does the same thing with Becky, and while admittedly the Fluffy thing does it a little better, I admit I like the Becky one better for obvious reasons.
Yeah, I can kind of say that, but yeah, that episode definitely is a really funny one, and I think again is because number one, it's season 1, and they had a kind of a different style. Then I feel like if it was on season 2 and 3, most of it would have been Johnny just screaming and running away, not realizing that Becky and that a Fluffy rather and the werewolf were one and the same. And number 2, again, it really does have a lot of good jokes, like the running gag about the people screaming and running from the from her at all the different locations and how it just piles on. That is a great choice right there. And of course, Fluffy's werewolf form is really adorable.
I also like how there's a bit of character development with Fluffy also getting less worried about people screaming, because when they scream at the restaurant, she cries again and Johnny has to console her. But when they scream at the ice cream shop, she's just like, oh, look, free ice cream.
Yeah, exactly. It really, really works out. And again, that is a great choice right there. So let's see. Jordan, what would your favorite Johnny Bravo episode be?
It would have to be the werewolf one. As Shark said, it was the werewolf one. I kind of like how that one is.
Nice.
Yep, we're all Team Jacob here.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
That's pretty much my answer. Is just the werewolf one. I have no other one.
Team Jacob.
I mean, I grew up with Johnny, but there was just like so many, and I just couldn't handle him being like a total jerk. I mean, I get it, but
I get why. I get
I
why.
mean, there was
Don't
like
worry.
one episode where Johnny I can. Girls are so easy to like. I understand like why I can't get a girl or whatever, and he gets his wish. He gets turned into a girl, and he kind of sees like, oh wait, this is what a girl has to go through when dealing with stupid, idiotic, dumb boys like him. And then he learns his lesson, but then he's like, oh wait a minute, I'm back to being a guy again.
Yeah.
And he goes like picking up chicks again. I'm like, what happened? Are you learning a lesson here, dude?
Same guy. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the same thing happened to Quagmire, but unlike Quagmire, I root for Johnny a bit more because he's the lovable rogue that generally is a bit of a scumbag sometimes, but he's charming enough to not be too hateable. Or
yeah, the bad stuff Johnny does, he does it out of stupidity, not actual.
And not actual lechery, because he and Quagmire are like comparing night and day here.
Yeah, Johnny is way better than
Quagmire.
He
is a gentleman compared to Glenn.
Definitely.
He is way better than Quagmire in almost every way.
Hell yeah.
Especially humor.
It's kind of why I like Brian in that regard, because Brian at least tries to be a gentleman compared to freaking Quagmire.
I can definitely see that, but yeah, that's a really great choice there. And now it is time for the patent pending Dragoness Scale, where we rank the Dragoness, and of course this time it's going to be Nessie, specifically the Johnny Bravo one. This one is going to be interesting because again, for a character that only appeared for like really 7 minutes, and maybe for like 4 out of those 7 minutes are with her in it, she has so much character. And again, for a character that never says a word, you can tell with like the facial expressions and the little elements like the sassy pose is so much fun. Frank Welker just does animalistic noises, but of course he does it well. And the design, as previously mentioned, looks just amazing. It really is such a fantastic design. And I really liked her. And again, the little touches like Shark mentioned with her going underwater and turning rather a darker shade when they did that was something that they didn't have to do, but it's cool they did. Mm-hmm. I am going to have to give her a 9 out of 10 because, again, I really cannot find any fault with her, with the exception of she should have been in the show longer. And again, this is probably one of the highest rankings a non-speaking dragoness that isn't the one from Shrek is going to get because, again, she has so much character. And for a character who has such small runtime, you really can feel that they actually tried to make her like a character rather than just an object. And that always is a huge plus in my book. So, yeah. And it's a shame she was only a 1-episode thing, but for the most part, most characters in Johnny Bravo only appeared like once, maybe twice, and that was it. And yeah, I could definitely see that, but I can't give her a 10 of 10 because I don't know. Maybe if she spoke, I would have given her like a perfect score, but I feel like at this point, 9 of 10 is still what she's going to get, and it's still a really good score.
It's still respectable.
Yeah.
Yep. And now let's see, Angron, what would you give her?
I'm gonna keep that train rolling. Toot-toot. And I'm gonna give this sassy lady a 9 out of 10. Everything you said 100% applies here. She's amazing. She's got a lot of character, more so than other natural dragons, more or less. And honestly, if not Becky, Nessie is one of the other characters that I definitely believe Johnny would have a good relationship with. Johnny Bravo aside.
Nice. I definitely can see that. Oh, one thing I just want to say before we get back to the Dragoness Scale, I almost forgot. My apologies. Lucky Evie also shared his favorite episode, and it was the one Dating with an Antelope, which is another really funny episode. Yeah.
Lucky.
So
almost I forgot.
Becky and Fluffy.
Yep. And Carol. And Nessie. Speaking of Nessie, let's see what what would you give her?
Gonna keep that rolling with a 9.
Yeah.
Nice.
I said this in my Flintstones episode. Hanna-Barbera is really good with designing characters in such a way that you get everything about even just the side character from looking at them. Her design's great. The little personality that they gave her is great. You'd think just looking at it, and for how short this episode it is, you'd just be like, oh, giant monster, and that's it. But they give you so much with her. It's actually really, really impressive. The only reason it's a 9 is, and I'm beating this drum till my dying day, give these characters more fucking screen time.
Yes. That is what we need. We 150% need that. But wow, I was surprised to see the train is still going, and let's see if it keeps on going. Stryker?
I'm keeping this train rolling. A 9.
Woo, baby.
Whoa. Nice.
Lovely.
Awesome.
Yeah, everything that everyone's saying here, yeah, exactly shares my opinion.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's really great to see. Let's see. Shark, what would you give her?
Yep, it's still going. She's getting a 9 from me too.
Energizer Bunny, baby. Energizer Bunny.
Any particular reason, or any particular reason, Shark, or
he may have gotten disconnected.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
I think he ultimately agrees with us.
Yeah, I definitely
agree.
think
What?
what I said was
Any particular reason
why you gave her 9 out of 10.
Oh, did I disconnect or something?
No,
Yeah, I
no,
think
it's
you
okay.
Yeah, you may have.
No,
for
it's
a
all right.
second,
You're
but all good.
No,
Okay,
it's all
let
right.
me be
You were
quick.
still
Let
on.
me be quick. So yeah, because I can't blame the limited screen time on her because it's a 7-minute episode and it's a show without continuity. And in the small amount of time they gave her, they did a lot. They did a lot with the personality.
More with less.
That sassy pose she does. That she's entertained with Johnny's little game of where's the haggis. And the design is neat for what they had. So there's a lot of I like about her. If I had to reduce points, it will be because I will kind of wish the part where she falls in love with Johnny came earlier, so the episode maybe will be about Johnny trying to run away from that.
I mean, to be fair, she was setting up a picnic, so she may have.
Well,
good point.
it's great, but she ain't fluffy. But
Yeah, ain't Becky either.
And Becky either. But yeah, let's see if we can go full 9 now.
Yep. Well, we have 2 more to go for. Let's see. Jordan, what would you give her?
God damn it.
Jordan?
Sorry. 9. Go on with the 9 train. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Nice. It's so good.
Hope we didn't catch you at a bad time.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Oh,
It's
good.
okay. Any particular reason why you gave her that, or
Just going with the train, I guess.
Okay. Unfortunately, this is where the train comes to a stop because Lucky Evie decided to give his ranking for Nessie before he saw the episode. Yep. Kind of like that, Angron. Kind of like that. What happens is he has decided to give Nessie a 5 out of 10, which seems a little harsh in my opinion because even just design-wise, you can tell that she was really well thought up of. But I mean, yeah, I know. I'm shocked though that we managed to get 6 straight 9 out of 10s. That's one of the higher scores that hasn't beaten Charmcaster, and we'll have to see if anything does. But that's still a really good show. Yep, that's gonna be really hard, especially considering she's the only one with currently an 11 out of 10. But yep, several 9 out of 10s are good. And again, Lucky Evie sadly is not given his reasoning for giving her a 5 out of 10, but that's his opinion, and
I think it's probably because he thinks we've covered a whole lot of plesiosaurs up to this point, but I mean,
he might be a little burned out, but it's completely understandable.
It's all right. But that is going to be it for this week's episode. If you have any questions, or if you want to send us your ideas for pickup lines Johnny could have used on Nessie, I'm sure there's a lot of them. You can email us. Oh yes, that Nessie. I think that Nessie would have been more afraid of him than anything else.
Oh boy! Wait, which Nessie again?
The one from Ballad of Nessie.
Oh yeah,
and the Disney one.
And or probably the Gilf from freaking FR07.
Yeah. Yeah, she probably would. That one probably would have pursued him way earlier.
Oh boy.
Absolutely.
But
Wow.
anyway,
Talk
if
about
you want
cougar.
to send us any messages, you can email us at fierydiscourse@outlook.com. Visit us on Twitter at twitter.com/fierydiscourse. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Ludmillanon. Be sure to also save the playlist and like and hit the bell for the notification button. Next week, we are going to be still discussing a 1990s cartoon, but a very different one because we're going to be discussing the 1999 Dragon Tales episode, To Fly with Dragons. This is actually the first episode of Dragon Tales, believe it or not.
Hey, and it's one I'm looking forward to.
Definitely going to be a lot of fun talking about this show. Definitely a different experience from Johnny Bravo, but still, got to have a unique variety of stuff to talk about. But that's going to be it for this week. Thank you all so much for watching, and until then, take care.
Later.
Yeah,
whatever.
Adios. See you all next week.